Gabali, who's second in line, and Keely Phillips, who's third in line. I'm going to give a brief bio as they each individually come up to present on their topic, on their organization, and on what they're doing in regards to peer support across Ontario. I would ask if you have any questions, please hold them till the end of all the presentations, because we will have a period where you'll be able to ask any questions if you have any. So just kind of moving towards kind of the bio, our first speaker up is going to be Barbara Frampton. I met Barbara about 2 or 3 weeks ago at the Ontario Peer Development Initiative Conference, OPDI. Barbara is the acting manager of OPDI. Barbara has a background in business and volunteer management. She has over 20 years experience in the mental health system as a user of services, a volunteer, and a research assistant. Currently, Barbara is the co-chair for Connect for Mental Health Incorporated. Previous to that, she was the regional director of the Southwestern Alliance Network. Barbara has maintained a membership on a number of community boards and committees. Barbara is a provincial trainer in OPDI Peer Support Core Essentials Program Training, as well as a provincial trainer for the Diabetes and Mental Health Peer Support Project. Barbara's mantra is nothing about us without us. So please put your hands together as we welcome up Barbara. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I need to have a pen player.
You can move that over.
That's pretty good, I think. Can people hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
No, not at the back.
Not at the back?
No. Screen.
Can I get that in closer? Being way up on it. That might be better. Okay. Can people hear me any better now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, there. We're on now. Okay, I can hear myself now. Anyway, thank you very much, Richard, for your kind introduction and review of kind of my bio. It's interesting because people, when I go to speak places, people often say, "What makes you the person to speak about this? Like, why is that important? Sometimes people say, what are the letters behind your name in order to have the qualifications to speak about something?" Well, it's interesting because I just want to. This is kind of a little story about me. People always talk about themselves by different labels. They might label themselves as I'm a student, or I'm a teacher, or some people will even say I'm a person with schizophrenia, or whatever. So people will label themselves as something that they are. And personally, I like to think of myself as a whole person. Many, many parts of myself play into this particular reason that I'm here. But mostly the letters behind my name are LIVED, experience, lived experience. And that's the only thing really that's important in playing this particular role. There's lots of other things that add to it, but as far as credentials, those are the credentials that play into that. I didn't always pick this role. It wasn't my career path when I started out, but at a point in time of my life, I ended up having a mental health crisis. I won't spend a lot of time on that, but just to let you know, I've been hospitalized in a psychiatric facility on a number of occasions and for varying lengths of time. And at this point in time, I'm in a point of recovery and wellness where I'm able to do some really cool things with my life based on some of those things that happened to me during that period of time. And it's made me feel much more confident in the importance or the benefit to what happened to me actually being able to help other people. Because sometimes you wonder, what's the cost of that? Why did that happen to me? And what can I do with it? And if I can only help one person to have a better life, based on something that I can share with them, then I will have succeeded in the job that I do. So I went from that particular situation of being unwell for a period of time and struggling with how do I get better? And I realized that in periods of time of being hospitalized, there were peers next to me who often helped me. Yes, the professional system had their role, but I found that things so simple. Like the first day I woke up in the psychiatric facility and there were, I was in a bedroom with 5 other people. And I was scared. I didn't know, what is this psychiatric facility? I've never been in one. What are the people like? I thought, I'm just unwell. I don't, I was even doing the labeling of I'm not crazy. So I was like, what am I going to do this morning? And I saw people leaving the room, but I wasn't told anything about that breakfast doesn't come to the room. You have to go to the cafeteria or the little place to have your breakfast. I wasn't told some simple things that would have made my stay there much better. But one of the patients came up to me and said, you look like you're hungry. Did you get down for breakfast? And I said, no, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about some other things. And she kind of took me under her wing, and she showed me a lot of the things that were on the ward. That was my first taste of what peer support was like. And that was a level of peer support that was, friend to friend. She wasn't paid to do that. She wasn't at that, but it was an equal level of peer support. And I found that mutuality and the things that I could share with her and the equalness of that particular relationship really, really beneficial to me. So I think about me that it's the sum of all the parts. And I put down, I've been a consumer of various mental health services. The regional director, as Richard mentioned. I'm a daughter, a sister, a mother, and I have all that type of experience. A wife, not now, I'm a widow, but and then I was a business owner. I owned 2 large businesses, lost them while I was sick, but that happens. And several different executive positions with various boards and committees. So that feeds into the whole. That's what brings the value to being able to speak to you folks. And I would hazard to say that a lot of the people here in this room have a similar experience. And I would encourage you to find the voice of being able to share that experience, whether it be in public speaking, whether it be in policy, strategic planning, or wherever you go. I would encourage you to share that voice with people. So the Ontario Peer Development Initiative, as Richard mentioned, I'm the acting manager, and I was on the board at the time that our executive director left the organization fairly untimely, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do to go through another hiring process because she'd been only on the board for 3 months as executive director, and we decided to look internally at the board, at the organization, to look at an organizational change analysis. What's happening in peer support right now, and what's the need of an organization like Ontario Peer Development Initiative? So when we decided to do that, then the board said, well, who's going to run the organization? And we talked about different consultants we could bring in or different things like that. But someone mentioned, well, sometimes people on the board will run the organization. And so they had a little discussion about that, and my name came up. And I instead of stepping backward, I stepped forward into the role, and I stepped out of the meeting so that they could have a discussion without me there and decide whether they wanted to do that. So they put me in an acting position, and to continue this inward look at our organization and how we develop, and to sort of lead that process along the way until we hire a new executive director. Our mission is to acquire, understand, and amplify the unique and distinct voice of consumer survivors and of their organizations across Ontario. And we believe that the experiential expertise of our peers, just like you, everybody here, is going to shape the mental health system to achieve a valued, recovery-oriented, community-based approach to support. And we do this, we fulfill our mission by promoting the value of peer support, of consumer survivor initiatives or peer support organizations. We promote the need for increased funding for these initiatives, and we influence public policy and promote positive system change in Ontario. So we have the opportunity to sit at larger systems tables in the Ministry of Health and provide the voice of consumer survivors and people with lived experience. We also promote the awareness of OPDI, which I'm here doing today, and its role and its value. And we maintain and model a strong operational infrastructure, which is the reason that we looked internally so that we could really evaluate that. So what about peer support and our members? Well, consumer survivor initiatives and peer support organization, they're run by and for people with lived experience of mental health issues. What does that do? It's provided things to the Ministry of Health. They've been funded since, I believe it was 1991. And these folks that are part of our organizations are experts. They're the subject matter experts on peer support because they've experienced it. Yeah, and so they were created in a situation to be, to help to fill a gap in the system. And in fact, some research says that people say that peer support is or professional support is like at 10% that helps you with different things. And peer support is the other 80 to 90% of support for life, to live life. You know, so that's the difference. And they arose, these consumer survivor initiatives rose from tenuous relationships between professionals in hospital settings and clients. People weren't happy and they needed something. And so they can be classified as self-help or mutual aid organizations, and there was about 60 of them funded in 1991 and 1992. So experts on peer support. Really, these types of organizations had their modern roots in the civil rights movement. And in fact, Vancouver had the first early consumer survivor initiative. They were set up as non-clinical organizations, not treatment-based, and they were independent, consumer-run, autonomous, member-driven organizations. And the ministry actually put them in a protected funding envelope so that that funding was not supposed to bleed anywhere else or be taken into some other pot of funding. That's what it was supposed to be for. And these different organizations provided various activities and services based on what the members actually wanted, which is a cool idea. System advocacy also happened at that local level, and common to all of them was the focus on peer support. So the reason I said that is basically that sometimes people, when they think of the role that we can do in the mental health system, they only think of peer support. They don't think of all the other roles that are involved in people in the system, evaluation, research, participation on systems planning, and also advocacy at the local level, regional level, and the provincial level. So these are great things that people can be involved in. So our symbol for OPDI, part of our symbol is the lighthouse. And our tagline is peer support, a lighthouse of caring connection. So, you know, that connection that happens. And I don't know if you're like me, but if I was in a canoe or something like that, going down a river of rapids and eddies and things, I would sure want to be in that canoe with somebody that had been there before and knew how to navigate around those things that were difficult, had some sort of knowledge of them as to how to avoid them or how to go around them. And so a lighthouse also points to a way out of the system, a brighter hope, provision of hope, and also how to help to avoid the rocky dangers that are there as well. So this is OPDI's definition of peer support. It says it's a naturally occurring, mutually beneficial support process where people who share a common experience meet as equals, sharing skills, strengths, and hope, learning from each other how to cope, thrive, and flourish. Formalized, so that's the just peer support. Now, formalized peer support begins when persons with lived experience who have received specialized training assume unique integrated roles, or designated roles, within the mental health system to support an individual's expressed values. And then specialized peer support training is peer developed, delivered and endorsed by consumer survivor initiatives or peer support organizations and patient councils, and is rooted in the principles of recovery, hope, and individual empowerment. Now, this definition was drafted through stakeholder consultation with many, many members together, just like you guys are going to have a little question research about information that will feed into something, and that's what happened with this definition. There are lots of definitions out there, but you know, it's that key sort of thought that it's the different, as I say, different categories. So how does peer support lead into recovery? And this is an interesting document. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I'm going to send Richard, I don't know if you can send out the slides? Yeah, so just showing that recovery is something that, you know, some of the recovery process, and it points down that peer support is purely voluntary, and all of these different things that are important for peer support as regards traditional illness-centered things and how peer support fits in that role. So I like to say that we are the evidence. You know, when you talk about research, what's the research that shows how peer support helps? And we're the evidence. This is one situation of a model of bridging from hospital to home, and peer support was provided. This research proved $12 million in savings to the mental health system. Another type of recovery document, this was around From Madhouse to Our House, and it was the impact of consumer survivor initiatives on individuals as peer supporters. And lived experience is where it starts. You know, I might have gone through all these different things to help myself with wellness, RAP, intentional peer support, pathways to recovery, and various other documents, and I've taken the training and Emma Trainer. And this is all fed into how I determine my wellness, or how I help my wellness. This is just a document from the Mental Health Commission of Canada, showing like kind of from the top, the more casual peer support or informal peer support, going down to walk-in centers, self-help, formalized intentional peer support, workplace peer support, community, clinical settings, and mental health system-based peer support. So it's talking about the continuum of peer support. And we believe or endorse that this is what we advocate, that volunteerism fits within those categories, trained and paid fits in this category, well-trained, living wage, and again, you know, this would be competitive pay and continuous education to help build up your skills. These are some reports on peer support and CSIs, Consumer Survivor Initiatives. I've been part of three of these documents actually, not heavily with this one, but this was about Consumer Survivor Initiatives and building for an equitable future, has great suggestions in there for the local health integration networks, and then making the case for peer support. So all of these documents are showing us that peer support's not a new idea. it's something that's been there for a time. It's widow to widow, seniors, hockey players, different people and situations where people join together. And it's based on the fact that people who have faced, endured, and overcame adversity can offer useful support, encouragement, hope, and perhaps mentorship to others facing similar situations. And I'm seeing my time is going. Okay, so just about support. Sometimes easing another person's heartache is to forget one's own. No one is useless in the world who lightens the burdens of others, and sometimes those who give the most are the ones with the least to spare. So we've heard the people have spoken. More peer support is needed. There have been 3 recent major government consultations, the All-Party Select Committee of the Ontario Legislature, the Ministers' Advisory Group on 10-year Mental Health Strategy, and the Mental Health Commission of Canada. All heard it loud and clear. People want more access to peer support. I'm going to go, I only have just a short period of time left. I'm going to go to a clip that I think is going to,
You want to stand over here? That's why you come here. I'm still there. Right? Okay. Take all this back. We have a whole music. That's good. Maybe one day, Jeremy, when you keep coming to me, maybe in a couple of years, you'll be a leader. I know. We're gonna start looking up those RW. Community living. Not looking at that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. No problem.
Okay. So the clip that I was going to show you was just about a person who is in an organization, one of our member organizations, as both of these ladies are part of our members of our organization. But this clip was from Psychiatric Survivors Network of, Psychiatric Survivors of Ottawa, and it's called Out of the Box. If you go on to YouTube and look up Out of the Box, it's our celebratory 25th anniversary video, and it just talked about a woman. She told her story of falling into addiction and deep depression because of the loss of her son, and then how she went to a Consumer Survivor Initiative and started to get some support, but she was very, very ill. The way she tells it is so powerful, and I feel bad that we can't show it to you right now, but we had it this morning. Anyways, yeah, we'll figure something out. We'll figure out what it is. But anyways, it was at the very end, she said she's now working in the organization that she received support for. And she said, you know, she received RAP and different things like that, and now she's so excited. She says, it's exciting. That's how she said it. It's exciting. And now I work here. And I thought that was a really powerful statement. So if you get a chance to look up that video, you'll see a lot of information there. And I'd be happy to speak with people afterwards and talk about our role anymore. I had a ton of slides and I guess I overestimated my time. So I appreciate that you've given me at least this amount of time, and I've been able to share some of our experience with you. So thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.